Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up. So, as you can see, I'm in lots of red. I'm wearing red shorts too. That's because today I'm filming on Canada Day, which is our holiday in Canada, and we had the day off, so I took the time to dress myself in as much red as I could, and the only shirt that I had other than a shirt with a lobster on it was Stark Industries. This is actually Marcus's shirt, so yeah, I'm representing my country in my colors, and yeah. So as most of you guys know, all the books that I read for the month of June were chosen by Marcus for me to read. I'll put the link up here for the video where he chose the books. And yeah, so now I'm going to talk about all the different books that I did manage to get to, because I didn't get to all of them. He chose 8 for me, and I managed to get to 5 of the books he chose, plus the 1 book that I had for my TBR jar. Here's the pile of books, and now I'm going to give you guys a review of each one, and I'm gonna go from lowest to highest in rating. So the lowest one, which was still not that low, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, was Hard Place by Douglas Stewart. This was the TBR jar pick, and this one was the one about the cop named Ratso, or I guess I should say investigator named Ratso. I found that it was a decent book, and it had an okay storyline, but I feel like it could have been condensed a lot more. Like, it's a pretty chunky book, and a lot of it was just like not necessary for the story at all. So I feel like it could have been condensed a lot more, and then I probably would have given it a higher rating, because then it would have been a lot more fast-paced of a book, and I wouldn't have gotten lost, I guess, in the parts that just like were not keeping me interested. There's a lot of like British lingo that took me a little while to get used to, because I wasn't used to these terminologies. So I found that a little difficult, but it was also kind of fun at the same time, because I was like learning how they use these different words in different situations. So I thought that was fun. I also did enjoy that there were multiple references to Cafe Nero, which is a cafe that I went to when we were in Scotland and Ireland. And they have that really good like raspberry smoothie thing there that I'm pretty sure we got at least once a day. So I thought it was cool that it was referencing places that I've actually been to. That was a lot of fun for me. Overall, it was a decent crime thriller, and I say thriller because it wasn't very thrilling. It was more just like a crime-related book, but it was a decent story, and I'm still gonna read the second one because the second one is on my TBR shelf and it's in my TBR jar. So we'll see how that goes. I hope it's not like as full and has a little bit less information thrown at you, but I remember the book being a similar size, so it'll probably get a similar rating. We'll see. Also, if you want to know like a brief synopsis for each of these books, definitely check out the video that I linked up here for when Marcus chose these books for me, because I gave a description of them at that point. Right now, I'm just kind of doing a quick wrap up of them, so you can find out what they're actually about on that video. So next up, the rest of the books are all books that Marcus chose for me. The next one is One Word Kill by Mark Lawrence. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. I really liked the D&D aspect to the book, because I'm starting to get into D&D. I haven't played any games yet, but I have plans to play with a couple friends, and I've already made my character and my character sheet, so I'm getting ready to play D&D, and so this book got me even more pumped to start playing that game, because there is a lot of it in it. It was a perfect little intro book to the month, and it gave me Blake Crouch vibes with the style that the author took in this book. It also was very short, so it was a really easy read to get through. Although I feel like I'm pretty sure this book took me a long time to read, just because other things kept popping up that were like distracting me from the book. But then once I sat down with it, I read a very large chunk in one day. I don't know, it took me longer than it should have because it's not that big, but I did enjoy the book quite a bit. I'm looking forward to continuing this series because all the books are similar size. So I feel like if I wanted to, I could read the second and third book really quickly. Like I could probably bang them out in a week. So I am looking forward to continuing the series and seeing what happens next. Next up, I have Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell. This book was pretty awesome. I did a buddy read for this book with my friend Amanda. I always screw up her channel name, so I'm just gonna put it in the description down below. She did this book via audiobook because she's already read the book before, but she wanted to reread it again because she wants to get into further books in the series. So I read it for the first time, she was listening to it, and it was really cool. This book was kind of like, I didn't know what to expect with this book, or at least I thought I knew what I was expecting going into this book, and then reading it, it was kind of like totally different from what I was expecting, but in a good way. Like I did enjoy it quite a bit. I thought that it was like, from the description, it sounded like it was gonna be like a magical Western style, and there were elements of Western style in it, but it went in a direction I was not expecting, and I'm really excited now to continue this series. I'm glad we have all the other books because that means I could just jump right into it in future months coming up. There was one character in this book that I found to be super annoying. I still find them to be super annoying, although they did progress and get a little bit better as it went, but I feel like if you've read this book, then you know the character I'm talking about, and I want to know your thoughts in the comments down below. So the main character of this book realizes very quickly in the beginning that he is losing his ability to channel magic. And so a lot of this book is based on him using trickery rather than actual magic to make people think that he has these magical abilities. And it also uses a lot of stuff to do with like playing cards. And I thought that was really interesting because I've never seen that concept in a fantasy book before, or really used anywhere other than like Gambit from the X-Men. That's the only time I've really like seen the play on cards come into a story like that. So I thought it was really cool and interesting how they did that. There is also a character in this book that I was not expecting at all. So the fact that this character came into play was amazing, and I really love this character, and they're just outwardly vulgar, but like in a funny way, and so that's why I like them. And I really hope that this character sticks around for a while in this series, because they had me cracking up so many times when I was reading this. I loved it. So all that being said, I'm really excited to continue this series. I feel like I'm going to try and read the second one, which is Shadow Black, in the month of August, if I can match it up with one of the Newt's prompts. So we'll see how that goes. Next up is a book that I actually just finished today, which was right on time for this video, and that was The Demon King by Cinda Williams Chima. Now, this book was rated, I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was fantastic. It left me wanting so much more at the end. There was so much like build up in this book, but in a good way. You learned so much about so many of the characters, and it laid like the progression for multiple more books, which we do have them. They are on the shelves, so I'm excited about that because that means I can jump into the next one or the rest of the series whenever I want. But I was just blown away by how awesome the characters were and how well they were developed. Raisa is one of the main characters. I liked her, but I didn't like her as much as I liked Han Alistair. He was my favorite. He's the other main character. He has such a growth to him from beginning to end, and there's so many like little things that I'm just like thinking in the back of my head while this book is happening, and I'm just like, oh, I bet this is gonna happen. And I will say that like I could call a lot of what was happening throughout the book, but it wasn't like a bad thing. Like I was okay with being able to call it because I could tell that it's just going to make the rest of the series even better. And I'm sitting here wanting to pick up the next one right now and I just finished it, and that's a really good sign for me that I want to read the next book so badly. There was a lot of magical elements to this book because it does deal with wizardry, but I will say that there was also a lot based on just kind of like medieval lifestyle and things like that. And it kind of drew from my love for the book Crier's War, because there's a lot of medieval lifestyle in that book too. And I kind of felt that they were somewhat similar in that sense. I enjoyed the politics of it too, because there's a lot of different things that are happening and people are forced to do certain things or can't do other things because of the politics involved. And I like when that happens in a book, because then like you feel like the fury burning inside of you because you want certain things to play out certain ways, even though you know they can't. And it just adds that extra level of awesomeness to the book, in my opinion. So I will definitely be continuing this series. As you can see, for most of these books that Marcus chose, I'm definitely going to be reading more of them. So yeah, he has some good choices in books. Next up, we have Half a King. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I found it to be just fantastic. It was kind of like similar style with like the medieval sense that I really liked. And I'm finding that I do like books set in the medieval era. So that could have been a factor into why this one was up so high. It was also the fact that he is a crippled prince and he goes from one position to another position to another position of just like, the way he gets through this book is by using his mind. And like, I think that's so cool, because he's such a cunning character, and you think of him one way in the beginning, and then by the end you're like, wow, okay, this guy definitely deserves like a medal. You went on a whole adventure with this character's development, and all the different elements that were introduced while he's going through all these stages is just really cool. There were characters that I fell in love with right away. Some characters were torn away from me and it made me sad. I had like so many different emotions reading this book, and I was just amazed at how he got through everything the way he did. It was definitely a fast-paced book, and I didn't really want to put it down. I mean, I did, because I wish I could read 24/7, but we all know that's not a possibility. Like, we have jobs and other things we have to do. But if I could, I would probably have flew through this book. I did read this as a buddy read with Tara from Buzzwords Books, and I'm pretty sure that she felt the same way about this book. Her husband had recommended it to her, and so she picked it up as well, and we did the buddy read together. I'm pretty sure she gave it a 4 or higher, so I liked it a little bit more, but we had similar feelings on the book. And as we were reading it, we were conversing back and forth, being like, oh my god, did you read this part? Did it happen yet? Or like, we didn't give anything away or spoil anything for each other, but we were just like super ecstatic about different parts of the book as we were going through. And it was just such a fun time to read this book. And the last book, which I'm pretty sure all of you know which one this is, seeing as it's become my new Skyward. I've talked about this book multiple times in multiple videos. I want to say this is the last time I'll talk about it, but I highly doubt that. And that is Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This book I read in less than a weekend. I loved it. Definitely 5 out of 5 stars for me. All of you guys kind of predicted that it would be a 5 out of 5 stars for me, and yes, you were right. I just adored everything about this book. The mixed media part, I was worried about that going into it, but that part was actually one of the reasons why I liked it so much. I feel like it helped me get through the book a lot faster because of the mixed media format, and I also found it so interesting that you kind of had to like piece together all the different things that were happening based on like memo files or camera recordings or like interview recordings. I thought that was so cool and just so interesting, because you're not being given a story just all at once. You're being given this story in bits and pieces, and you have to put it together yourself on what's happening. Many people told me to listen to the audiobook at the same time. I didn't do that. However, I am considering just listening to the audiobook now after reading it, just to see how awesome it is, because I can imagine after reading it in this format, the audiobook is probably fantastic. And I'm just thinking of all like the different sound effects and things they're going to add in there for the different parts of this book. And I think it'd be really cool. I also want to know what Aiden's voice sounds like. because I was thinking of it in one sense in my mind, and I feel like in the audiobook it's going to be something different, but also just as cool. I cannot wait to get to the second book in this series. I'm going to try and add it into my August newts if it can match one of the prompts as well, because yes, it's a big book, but I feel like I can fly through it, and that will help me in my progression of my newts prompts. So yeah, I would recommend this book to anybody that wants elements such as being set in space, having to do with a virus or hackers, or like political intrigue, because there's a lot of that put in this book too. It's layered, but it's in there. If you want any of those things, then definitely check out this book. And I feel like you will be reading the next two if you read this one. So yeah, I strongly recommend. And those are all the books that I read in the month of June. Thank you, Marcus, for choosing some awesome books, because the only book that I had below a 4 rating was not the book that you chose. So I had a really good reading month, and I'm really happy about it. Let me know down below if you guys have read any of those books and what you thought about them. Even if you haven't read any of those books, let me know what books were your favorite books in the month of June, and maybe I'll go check those out. If you guys want to support me, I have a Patreon, which is down in the description, as well as the Ko-fi page, so you can go check those out. You know the drill. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I post videos every Monday and Thursday. And until next time, keep on reading.